I now call this regular meeting of the Board of Education to order at 7 p.m. Please call the roll.
Ms. Pearson?
Present.
Mr. Schubert?
Here.
Ms. McCall?
Present.
Ms. Bennett?
Present.
Mr. Carpenter?
Here.
Ms. Haley?
Here.
Ms. Stanford?
Here.
With 7 present, we have a quorum.
We will now take a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. As we start each board meeting, it bears reminding that the mission for Rockford Public Schools is to collaboratively engage all students in an equitable first-class education for a changing world. I wish to welcome Superintendent Student Advisory Council Representative Elena McKee from Jefferson High School. Give her a hand. Thank you. We did set aside time for public hearing on the amendment of fiscal year 2024 budget. However, we have no speakers. We are now on to the petition and communication portion of our meeting, where we invite public to make comments. The board will not respond to the comments at this time. If appropriate, you will be contacted in a timely manner by staff. Each speaker will be allowed no more than 3 minutes to address the board. It is not appropriate to discuss matters that will otherwise be confidential in such open meetings. If you look to your left, you will see 2 digital clocks. One shows the total time allotted to public comments, and one shows the total time for each speaker. We thank you for your cooperation with our guidelines. The first speaker, I'll call 2 at a time. And the second one that is due to speak, please move closer to the front and await your turn. The first speaker for this evening is Mr. John Tack Bradley. Good evening.
There we go. Now we on. Today we got 4 elementary schools that we are transporting kids to school, from school, and doing the after-school program. Those schools consist of, what school you going to? Speak up. Lane. What school you going to?
Reesa Middle School.
Reesa, I have Reesa, Kennedy, we have McIntosh, we have Lewis Linden, and we also have Riverdale, who kids we transporting to school. What's happening is that we have 28 kids that we transporting, and got them involved in the after-school program. We got a teacher that was teaching at Lincoln Middle School that's teaching our kids reading and math, and he's also teaching them bilingual. But his funds is running short, and so the library have donated their time with 2 of the librarians to help work with our kids, the ones that's doing the after-school program, and the little kids that's not doing the after-school program, working with them. We running out of funds with that. He don't have the funds because this program costs. We're looking at talking with the different principals. We gave them a copy of the kids that we're working with, looking at the principals being able to support our kids and collaborating with them. So we're not in left field and they're in right field, but we actually working on the programs that they are working on with our kids in the school system. I want to mention that next month, because this event is coming up before the school board meeting, that we're going to be taking taking the kids to see the movie The Color Purple. After we see the movie The Color Purple, we're going to go back to Black Hawk Community Center, and we're going to have a dialogue. Our dialogue is going to be discussing about domestic violence and systematic racism that's very prevalent to this very day. And we're going to have the representative from the school administration being there. We're looking forward to, we got the mayor, we got the chief of police, we got the chief of the fire department, we got 2 organizations that teach mental health, that's African American, that deal with mental health, drug abuse, and also domestic violence, and also the Peace and Justice Center going to be in attendance. We're going to ask the people at Black Hawk and those that attend the movie about their concerns about these here issues. After that, we're going to have a soul food dinner. And last but not least, on the 24th of February, because I'll be almost 70 years old, we plan on taking our kids on a trip to the Museum of Science and Industry. I haven't been there since 1974. I heard the prices have went up because in 1974, we didn't have to pay for jack. But now today, you have to pay for everything. So I'm going to get with Dr. Reed and also with the library to find out if we can be able to take our kids to 2 buses of those to the Museum of Science and Industry. But most of all, I'm asking the school board members to check with the principals. We should, our kids in the elementary school should be able to get credit towards their school grades. Okay, thank you.
Next, we'll have Gabrielle Reed, followed by Ms. Yashika Reed.
Good evening. My name is Gabrielle Reed. Today, I would like to express my feelings to the Superintendent of Schools. I am a student at West Middle School, and I am in the Kappa program. I want to talk about the remote snow days. On Tuesday, January 9th, was the first snow day. The Monday before, we were warned by teachers that it might be a snow day. All the teachers showed us what we will be doing. If we did have a snow day, follow the bell schedule and join the Google Meet if we ever had any questions. The teachers were supposed to get an email about the snow days at 12 o'clock. There was not an email sent out at 12 o'clock, and the elementary students get out of school at 2:15. This means they have about an hour or so before they leave to school. None of the students were sent home with laptops, tablets, or work. Therefore, when us middle schoolers get out, it is 4:05. My point is that I don't think middle school students and high school students should not do remote days just because elementary students do not have the learning resources at home. This problem is a simple fix, and I just hope that you can solve this problem before another snow day. Thank you.
I'm proud of her, sorry. My name is Yashika Reed. My husband and I are lifelong Rockford residents. My husband is an East High alumni, and I am a Guilford High alumni. We have 2 adult students that, 2 adult children that graduated from Rockford Auburn and Rockford Guilford, and they went on to obtain their associate's and bachelor's degree. This is our last scholar in the Rockford Public School District, and we encourage and empower her to use her voice for matters that concern her, and I'm just standing here in support of what she said. Thank you.
Awesome. Ms. Crystal Scroggins, followed by Kathy Madison.
Hi, my name is Crystal Scroggins, and I was an 18-year veteran teacher at Roosevelt. Roosevelt has an amazing staff and serves some of the best students in the district. I consider so many of the staff and students lifelong friends and family to this day. In August of 23, I abruptly left my instructional coach position in the district. I left the building I once thought I would retire from as a result of the failure to provide a working environment free from harassment and bullying. I've remained mostly silent on my reason for exit out of fear. However, silence doesn't lead to change. In 2019, a staff member began to regularly make comments about my attire and my body. This culminated during a party where he began to attempt to throw ice cubes and napkins down my shirt, witnessed by many. I looked to leadership sitting a table away and was met with laughter and an offer of tequila shot. I left the party. Another day, he drove the entire building outdoors, shouting derogatory terms at me as I walked to my car. He laughed it off with a joke when it was addressed, and I learned to avoid him at all costs. In 23, this staff member began to intimidate me at work in a different way. He regularly showed up in my classroom uninvited. He would walk around my room in silence, having been told not to go into other classrooms. He showed up during the school day during an event at Lovings Lake I was at, and again after being denied leave. He approached me out of hundreds of people and acres of space. He stood only a few feet away while I was seated and stared at me in silence, awkward enough that the students who I was with voiced their concern. I reported and was told nothing could be done as no one can control what he does during his lunch hour, though it wasn't during the Roosevelt lunch hour. In meetings, he began to sit near me, his phone facing me so it appeared he was taking photos or videos of me. He was allowed to heckle me from a few feet away during a staff meeting as I presented, and I had had enough. The situation severely impacted my well-being, leading to anxiety and panic attacks, a loss of sleep, and even my hair started falling out. I reported to my administration, next HR, and a formal investigation was opened. I was hopeful for support, but instead I was asked if I wanted to go to another building to avoid him. I never received an update. I knew it was concluded when he shared an 11-page packet of findings with staff members in the building, ensuring only to share names of those who were witnesses so that others knew who had talked. This was not merely two staff members in a disagreement over policies, but a deliberate effort to make me uncomfortable in my workplace. It worked. I did not feel safe, and I left it. Unfortunately, my story is not unique. In my time at Roosevelt, I'm aware that teachers sought refuge from other toxic work environments there. The district must work towards changing toxic work environments collaboratively with new union leadership strength. Current policies and video trainings are not enough. Learning environment should be safe and free from harassment for all. If staff does not feel safe, how can students? Teachers will continue to leave buildings and this district without change. This is not a result of COVID. I was once told by an administrator when addressing a concern that I needed to be grateful for everything that was done for me. Here I stand asking for something to be done for all. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Kathy Madison, and I'm a member of a group with Eliminate Racism 815's education team that is studying ways to help increase the low literacy rates among RPS 205 third graders, fewer than half of whom are proficient on state reading tests. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. Our group believes that reading literacy is the most important factor to determine a student's success in school and life. We also believe that strong literacy rates produce a well-educated citizenry that will attract new businesses looking to locate to Rockford, as well as to help current businesses hire competent employees. There's a long history of low literacy scores among RPS 205 third graders, especially among students of color. To keep doing the same things to teach reading is not working. We believe that the district can do better, but we also believe it must say it will do better. There must be a sense of urgency. Our group team is gathering information by engaging in conversation with those we believe to have knowledge necessary for us to build a foundation upon which we can develop a plan of recommendations and collaborations to improve reading literacy for the future health of RPS students, especially students of color. Our latest conversation was with Ann Pfeiffer, Director of Elementary Curriculum and Dean of Foundational Learning. We are heartened that she is passionate about reading literacy and are eager to collaborate with her. But neither we nor Ann nor any community-based organization who shares our belief in the absolute need to improve literacy rates can be successful until the administration is held accountable for long-term failure of our most important asset, our students. There must be a plan to consistently assess student progress in literacy and a plan to provide immediate, continuous remediation to those falling behind. This is especially important after 2 years of a pandemic that saw students falling even further behind. Other districts in Illinois have improved literacy rates. Prairie Hill School District in South Beloit being one. The district identified improved literacy for K through 3 as one of its most important goals. Its school board members have been asked to do three things: continue to focus on policies and support services that will support equitable learning environments, continue to invest in high-quality professional development for the district staff, school principals, and teachers, and third, encourage schools to analyze a variety of data sources to address the needs of the whole child. We ask that you adopt these same directions and direct the RPS 205 administration to focus especially on improving low literacy
Thank you,
rates.
Ms. Hawkins.
We ask that you hold leaders
Ma'am,
accountable.
thank you. Your time is now up.
Thank you.
Mr. Kevin Ryan.
Ladies and gentlemen of the board, members of the administration, members of the public, thank you for being here tonight and hearing our concerns. My name is Kevin Ryan. I work at Eisenhower Middle School as a computer tech and publications teacher. I am an AR for Eisenhower. I also have the honor of sitting on the REA executive board as the District 2 secondary director. Tonight, I would like to express a little bit of frustration with our attempts to attend a meeting that was happening last week. And the weather played a very small part in the miscommunication about when and where this meeting was happening. It was on the student code of conduct. I had filled out a Let's Talk several months ago and got a response saying, hey, we'd love to have you at this meeting. And I was like, great, tell me when and where. And that was it. Silence. I made inquiries with my own administration. They didn't seem to know anything, couldn't find out anything. I said, okay, it'll probably be later. I'll get something in one of our many communications. When I found out that the meeting time had been changed, I found out the day after. I ended up at a community meeting at Patriots for the facilities department, but I couldn't make that student code of conduct meeting. And I went back through all of my old emails, nothing. There was no indication that this was happening. And yet I was just at a union meeting, kind of caught an earful from my union president about, hey, if you guys want them to hear you, you got to show up. I was like, how are we supposed to show up when we don't know where it is? We don't know when we don't even know what's going on. None of my brothers and sisters at that meeting, none of my coworkers knew anything about it. And we have looked. Now, there's a reason we wanted to be there. We have some real serious issues with our code of conduct. I'm going to give you one example. It's a pet peeve of mine. It seems like a minor behavior, but it has major impacts on the classroom. Last year, in the 2022-23 book, there was a little box that says, Bluetooth is banned. You can't bring a Bluetooth device into class. They don't need it. They have a wired headset into their Chromebook. The only thing they need Bluetooth for is to listen to their phones. We don't want that. That box is missing this year. Makes it real hard to write that up. Next is a uniform issue of hoodies. Now, these two things intersect. What the kids do is they put in earbuds, flip up the hood. Now you can't even see. Now, do you want engagement in the classroom? Because it's really hard to engage with kids who are wearing hearing protection. It's gotten so bad that the kids are wearing Beats or putting them over the hoods or walking down the hallways.
Sir, thank you for your time. Your time is up.
Thank
you. We are now on action items. Is there a motion and a second to approve item 4A, the resolution to adopt 2023-2024 amended budget?
So moved. Second.
Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Schubert?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Is there a motion and a second to approve item 4B, Apogee Communication Platform?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Mr. Schubert,
Yes.
Ms. McCall,
Yes.
Ms. Bennett,
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter,
Yes.
Ms. Haley,
Yes.
Ms. Stanford,
Yes.
Ms. Pearson.
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Is there a motion and a second to approve item 5A, Board Policy 535, applicable to personnel employment selection process for administrative employees?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Ms. McCall,
Yes.
Ms. Bennett,
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter,
Yes.
Ms. Haley,
Yes.
Ms. Stanford,
Yes.
Ms. Pearson,
Yes.
Mr. Schubert.
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. We are now on to the consent portion of our meeting. May I have a motion and a second to approve the items listed in paragraph 6, Performance Monitoring Committee?
So moved.
Second.
Are there any consent items in paragraph 6 that board members wish to have pulled for separate consideration? Please call the roll.
Ms. Bennett,
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter,
Yes.
Ms. Haley,
Yes.
Ms. Stanford,
Yes.
Ms. Pearson,
Yes.
Mr. Schubert,
Yes.
Ms. McCall.
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. May I have a motion and a second to approve items in paragraph 7, Governance Committee?
So moved.
Second.
Are there any consent items board members wish to have pulled for separate consideration? Please call the roll.
Mr. Carpenter,
Yes.
Ms. Haley,
Yes.
Ms. Stanford,
Yes.
Ms. Pearson,
Yes.
Mr. Schubert,
Yes.
Ms. McCall,
Yes.
Ms. Bennett.
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
We are now on at the closed session consent agenda, including 8A, residency of student ZK, ZAK, and ZTK, B, special education settlement agreement, C, HR organizational report. Is there a second and is there a motion and a second to approve items in paragraph 8?
So moved.
Second.
Are there any items in paragraph 8 that board members wish to have pulled for separate consideration? Please call the roll.
Ms. Haley,
Yes.
Ms. Stanford,
Yes.
Ms. Pearson,
Yes.
Mr. Schubert,
Yes.
Ms. McCall,
Yes.
Ms. Bennett,
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter.
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. We are now on student discipline. As for H0047X24 and H0054X24, the expulsions are held in advance, contingent upon expulsion in advance agreement for the remainder of 2023-2024 through year 2024 through 2025 school year. H0055-24 and H0056-24 are expelled for the remainder of 2023 through 2024 school year through the entire 2024-2025 school year. Is there a motion and a second to approve items in paragraph 9?
So moved.
Second.
Please call are there any items, paragraph 9, board members wish to pull? If not, please call the roll.
Ms. Stanford,
Yes.
Ms. Pearson,
Yes.
Mr. Schubert,
Yes.
Ms. McCall,
Yes.
Ms. Bennett,
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter,
Yes.
Ms. Haley.
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Is there a second, motion and a second to approve items in paragraph 10, items, letters A through Z?
So moved.
Second.
Are there any items in paragraph 10 that board members wish to have pulled for separate consideration?
Yes. T, so P0098-24.
You said Z, correct?
T.
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 Didn't see that. Anything else?
Nope.
Consent items T have been, consent item T have been pulled. Please call the roll on items not pulled in paragraph 10.
Ms. Pearson,
Yes.
Mr. Schubert,
Yes.
Ms. McCall,
Yes.
Ms. Bennett,
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter,
Yes.
Ms. Haley,
Yes.
Ms. Stanford.
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Consent item T has been pulled for separate consideration. Do I have a motion and a second to approve item T?
So moved.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Mr. Schubert,
Yes.
Ms. McCall,
Yes.
Ms. Bennett,
Abstain.
Mr. Carpenter,
Yes.
Ms. Haley,
Yes.
Ms. Stanford,
Yes.
Ms. Pearson.
Yes.
The motion passes with 6 yeses, 1 abstain.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is the superintendent report. Dr. Jarrett, the floor is yours.
Thank you, and I'm going to be sharing that time with two great partners today. First, we're going to hear from our SSAC representative, Elena from Jefferson, and she's going to share her, as we do each month. She was at our first committee of the whole meeting, is going to share an issue that she connected with and share some of her personal experience. And then we're going to turn it over. We've got a nice representation from Washington Elementary here. They have packed the house tonight, so we're going to hear some of the success story of Washington. So first, I would like to turn it over to our student representative, Ms. McKee.
Firstly, I want to thank the board and Dr. Jarrett for having me at the committee of the whole meeting last week and the board meeting tonight. During my observations, I've learned a lot about our district and what steps are being taken to make our district community better. One particular report that stood out to me last week was Dr. Reed's report on the teacher recruitment strategies outcome. The academy model in the schools has given me the opportunity to explore many career options. My freshman year, I chose to participate in the public safety pathway. Further in my high school career, I developed my passion for wanting to pursue history education. This year, I was given the opportunity to take the Introduction to Teaching / Educational Psychology class, which has helped showcase all the opportunities that working for RPS has. The Rockford University Pathway Scholarship is not only encouraging our current students to pursue education, but creates role models for our younger and future students. Having teachers that not only look like our students, but grew up in the same neighborhoods and have similar experiences strengthens our recruitment by having the career choice of being a teacher an option for our younger students by living proof through our Pathway program graduates. Jason Pope continues by discussing the two-way connection that RPS has with Central State University, a historically black university. By encouraging their students to participate in the Aspiring Teacher Program, a paid student teaching experience that helps supports and retains new teachers. By having this partnership, we are giving new students another opportunity to be represented by their teachers. Thank you.
And now I'd like to turn it over to Washington Elementary School. They have a presentation for us to talk about the amazing work they're doing as a faculty to improve student learning outcomes.
Push the button. All right, everyone here. All right. Do we have the presentation up? This is our clicker. All right, so while Dr. Gallagher is getting the presentation set up, first of all, I'd just like to say hello to everyone. I am Dr. Angelique Malone, and I am the proud principal of Washington Elementary School that you see represented here on this evening. And my amazing Title I team, which we call T5 at Washington, will be joining me today in talking about some really exciting things that we're doing around literacy at Washington. Another thing I want to do before we get started, Dr. Jarrett, I really want to give a shout out to you and a thank you for your vision around extending the school day for elementary schools in the Rockford community. It has truly been a blessing and asset at Washington Elementary School. Also, I just want to thank the board as well for getting on board and actually supporting Dr. Jarrett's vision. And then I have to give the biggest shout out to Dr. Jarrett and his team because we know before the school year started, we faced some hurdles and obstacles that could have potentially stopped the opportunity for extending the day, but you guys came together quickly, swiftly, problem solved, you got it done, and you made it happen for us. So thank you very much for that. All right, so I'm going to get out the way so that the real stars can shine here. I just want to give some context around how we're using the extended time at Washington Elementary School and the impact that it's had on our students in such a short window of time, like literally a 3-month time span, and we're seeing some significant growth and outcomes as a result of this extended time. So if you take a look here at the data snapshot, this is a snapshot of our winter data from last school year. And as you can see, the red and the orange represents the significant gaps and deficits that we've seen historically, right, around literacy in our schools. And if you notice, as we continue to increase in the grade levels, right, you see the gap continues to widen. And so last year as a team, as we were working on our school improvement plan, we were like, you know what? We have to do something different, right? We cannot continue in the same model and expect to have different outcomes and results. And so we took some months to really brainstorm and think about the model that we needed to implement moving forward this year. But just to give a little bit more context around the model that we were previously using, so our teachers each had 60 minutes every single day to be able to meet with students to address some of the gaps and deficits that we were seeing in our data. But what we discovered in our reflection is that students were receiving anywhere between 45 to 60 minutes per week. So not day, per week of actual direct instruction and face time with teachers. And so what that meant is that students were then, if they weren't with a teacher, they were working independently, and they were spending about 400 minutes a week, right, working independently and not having that face-to-face time with teachers. And so we were like, you know what? We got to do something different. We have to trust each other, trust the process that we're coming up with, and see how it impacts our student data. So I'm going to step out of the way, and my title team is going to come before you, and they're going to talk about what P40 is, our new instructional model to address our literacy deficits, and how it's impacted our students in just like a 3-month window of time. So, T5, take it away.
So what are we doing with our extra time? The University of Florida's Literacy Institute, called UFly, Foundations Program, and the Lunita Estrellita programs were chosen to provide foundational instruction to all of Washington's students, both bilingual and monolingual. Both of these programs provide explicit and systematic instruction that teaches students the skills necessary for proficient reading. They follow a carefully developed scope and sequence designed to ensure students acquire each skill needed and learn how to apply these skills with automaticity and confidence. Each morning at 9:20, an announcement is made welcoming students to Washington Airlines Flight P40, nonstop service from learning to read to reading to learn. During the pre-40 block, all teachers, specialists, interventionists are involved in providing foundational instruction. There are 128 UFly lessons, 2 of which are taught per week. After completing or graduating from UFly, the instruction becomes focused on comprehension strategies and responding to text to prepare students for IAR through the use of Okapi texts.
So you may ask, how are we meeting each of our students' needs? All of our students were given the STAR assessment and the developmental spelling assessment. The Title I team also looked at each student's data from the STAR and the DSA to place them into a leveled UFly and Okapi group. At PLCs, we discussed the students that are having difficulties and on-the-spot interventions, which we can implement. After 6 weeks, the Title I team meets with every P40 teacher to discuss the students that may be struggling or accelerating. With that information, students may be moved to a lower group to repeat skills or moved up to a higher group. Students making slow growth are identified with a Tier 2 intervention plan within Panorama. And if minimal growth is made, the student will be placed in a Tier 3 group with an interventionist.
Good evening. Now we get to talk about numbers, right? So if we look at this graph, you'll see that we compare beginning of the year to middle of the year. First in bilingual classes, you'll see that we placed 25 students at the very beginning of Estrellita at the beginning of the year. We're now down to 8 students at that level. The other end of the graph, you'll see that we had 4 students that completed the DSA, the Developmental Spelling Assessment, and were ready from Spanish to move into English. And now we have 22 students. In the UFly groups, which are English, but we have kindergarten working on their own, 1st grade, 2nd grade, 3rd grade, 4th grade, and 5th grade students all mixed together. We have, we had 151 students at the beginning of the year. That's 2nd grade through 5th grade at the very beginning of UFly. So they were still working at short vowel sounds. We've moved that from 151 to 59. Within the next 2 weeks, we will graduate about 60 students from the UFly program, which is the learning to read, into the Okapi program, which is reading to learn. And we're really proud of our students for going through that progression. This year, we're piloting STAR for our whole building instead of MAP. So we're using percentile rankings from STAR. In the beginning of the school year, we had 58% of our students below the 10th percentile. We moved that down or up to 46%. Okay, we went from 18% of our students between the 10th and the 25th percentile up to 21% of our students. We have 21 down to 8% of our students between the 25th and 39th percentile. And we moved for our students that are at or above the 40th percentile from 16% to 25% in 3 months.
Hello. Now we're going to break it down a little more by grade level, monolingual and bilingual. So we begin by reviewing and celebrating kindergarten monolingual results compared to fall. Our children have increased 23 percentiles in just 3 months. Similar case with kindergarten bilingual, that we can observe a growth of 37 percentiles. Now we are seeing our monolingual 1st grade. We had just 1 class who have moved from 21 percentiles up. And then our 1st grade bilingual students who have increased 12 points up to this date. We have now second grade monolingual results. We can see an increase of 8 percentiles in 3 months. And finally, second grade bilingual, who has shown an increase of 14 percentiles to this date.
Okay, so we are now going to look at 3rd through 5th, and we're changing our look from percentile rank to grade equivalency scores because we want to show the deficit and how much they're growing. In the percentile rank in 3rd through 5th, you're not going to see that. So we really wanted to focus on how much they've grown. So if you look, this is 3rd grade monolingual and bilingual. You can see the growth in monolingual all the way at the end. We had over a year's worth of growth in 3 months. So we had a year and 3 months of growth in 3 months. It's amazing. The bilingual, I want to point out that this is the first year in bilingual that the students are being taught the academics in English. So it's kind of a bridge for them. So we're not going to see the growth right away because they're kind of moving over into English, whereas in K through 2, it's all Spanish. 4th grade, again, we had some amazing growth. We had a year's growth in bilingual and almost a half a year's growth in monolingual. And 5th grade, again, amazing growth from almost a half a year all up to almost up to 7 months of growth. So again, some amazing growth in just a short amount of time using UFly. And then questions?
We had a video. It's probably on like the other slide, but that's okay. We can like send it to you guys if you want to actually see like the kids and hear the kiddos' testimonials. But again, right, this is how we're using that extended time that we were fortunate enough to get this year to really truly have an impact on our students, especially in the area of literacy. And so we just know and believe that if we can make this type of growth and gains in 3 months, like what we can do for the remainder of the year and what we'll be able to do in the next few years at Washington. Like it's the deficit and moving on to grade levels, not being at grade level, like it's going to be a thing of the past, especially if you paid attention to our K2 data and seeing how many grade levels were either beyond the benchmark where they needed to be at grade level or the grade levels that were like really, really close. So for the remainder of the year, we're going to be pouring in our efforts and resources, our title teachers, our instructional coaches, administrators into like our K-1-2 team to make sure that every single student goes on next year without gaps. So stay tuned. We're super excited about what we're doing at Washington. And we know that you guys are busy, but we did have some invitations here for the board and the cabinet members. If you don't have anything going on February 16th from 9:15 to 10 a.m., we will have our first P40 promotion ceremony. So those 60-plus kiddos they were talking about that's moving on because they've cracked the code and they're reading to learn, please come out and join us. So I'll set these and you can just like take one, pass it around. And then this is also a copy of the presentation if you just wanted to look back at the data again. So thank you guys.
Yes. And I just want to conclude my report by giving a huge shout out to Dr. Malone, the Title I team, but our huge turnout of classroom teachers that are doing the work. Thank you all. We are so proud of the work that Washington is doing. It is a wonderful faculty and staff. I encourage people to come by and visit them. They are not only doing the great academic work that they talked about, but some really amazing cultural work to connect with students in their house system that they've built. It is truly an exceptional learning environment, and I applaud each and every one of you for being here tonight and for your presentation. Thank you again, Dr. Malone, for bringing the whole crew out tonight.
Anything else, Dr. Jarrett?
I would not want to step on either one of those two outstanding reports. Thank you to both our student representative, Elena, and to the Washington Wolves for coming out in full force tonight. It was a wonderful presentation. Thank you.
Yes, that was indeed an awesome presentation. and I am responding to I'm RSVP now for February 16th. Next on the agenda is opportunity for comments from board members. Are there any board member comments? Mrs. Bennett.
Last week I was able to attend the code of conduct discussion that was mentioned earlier, and I know that there are 2 sessions scheduled in the month of February. Jen, would you be able to say those out loud? I know one is February 7th, I believe. Okay, so there are 2 more sessions that are happening. One is at Auburn High School, one is at East. And East will have several different interpreters, so that is kind of the bilingual listening session regarding code of conduct. But you can keep looking because I think there's other things that people want to say too.
Vice President McCall.
Thank you, Madam President. This past week, I was able to participate in the facilities master plan meeting at Northwest Community Center. It was a great opportunity to engage with parents and former teachers regarding the plans that we have for the facilities coming up. And I also attended a volleyball game for middle school girls volleyball game Saturday at Marshall Middle School and last night at Lincoln Middle School. And last night, the 8th grade West Warriors won.
Awesome. Mr. Schubert.
On Saturday, I was able to go to the UW Sports Factory for the 60-plus elementary school basketball teams that kind of descended on to the Sports Factory. It was a really great experience. Very, I think after the presentation we had last week, really showed how sports can be so impactful to these young folks. But I really just wanted to take this time to thank the referees a lot. A lot of really good people that are it was amazing to watch them be constructive and supportive of young people learning a game for the first time. I know there was anxiety amongst the teams, and the referees were really just above and beyond. The coaches were amazing. So I think just the whole experience was just powerful, and one of those things. I think if you get a chance to head down to the Sports Factory and want to see some low-scoring games sometimes, but it's a beautiful thing to watch people learn the game and to see all these adults that are, supporting our young people in a very positive way. Because I think the internet sometimes skews the way that because we get these viral moments of things that happen in youth sports, but it was just very positive, and I think just a really great experience all around.
Very good. Anyone else? Miss June.
So I too was at the Sports Factory on Saturday, and just to say it again, what an extraordinary experience it is. If you want to see the kids having fun and learning to be teammates and adults being positive role models, they're there every Saturday morning for the rest of the season. So come on out and give them a watch.
Thank you. So I was very impressed. Jen, you have those dates?
February 13th and the 27th. We also send out a Google form to all staff. That's administration, teachers, certified and uncertified staff, non-certified staff, in educator news and principal headlines. And so those are other ways that staff members can provide us with feedback or information about the student code of conduct. But as board member Bennett said, it's the 13th would be at Auburn High School, the 27th at East, and that goes out through our communications department, all of our normal channels.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay.
I just want to comment on our student ambassador, the superintendent staff. I had the opportunity to have her give me a tour around the expo, the Academy's expo, and she told me her story. And I'm so proud of our school district that she was able to start in one path and be able to pivot to another path, and that your path is in education. So we look forward to possibly seeing you in the classroom here at RPS 205. And also thank you for the tour, and thank you for being in attendance to both of our meetings.
Awesome.
And shout out to Washington. I lived right behind that school for all of my life. And it's so awesome to hear the things that you're doing to address literacy and looking at things in a different way. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, so again, it was an awesome presentation. To our student ambassador, thank you for being a part and giving such a report and on what you learned and observed, and we certainly appreciate our students' feedback. Speaking of our students, special thanks to Gabrielle Reed for expressing her concern. I think our student voice is needed, and she did it with excellence. And it's good to see our students speak and have parental support and parental engagement. Moving on, are there any further comments or agenda recommendations? Just a friendly reminder for those reviewing policies, we will be discussing those at the next committee of the whole. Please forward any recommendations as you review those policies to Attorney Holtley, and so we'll be prepared for discussion if there be any.
Can you resend the assignments?
I'll be happy to.
Thank you.
You're welcome. If there are no further comments, I'll take a motion and a second to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Good night.